Yo! What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Hampshire. Today we are discussing Aromanticism without being asexual. A lot of times asexuals are also aromantic, vice versa. They come hand in hand, but not true for everybody. Some asexuals are not aromantic, so they want to be in relationships without sex. Totally valid. Some aromantics don't want relationships or love, romantic love, but still want to have sex. That's this guy. So you might be asking, what is aromantic if you're new here? Aromantic is the absence or the inability to experience romantic intimacy or attraction. Basically, you
can't fall in love.
You don't really have any capacity for those emotions. I often explain it as like,
you can't fall in love.
I'm partially colorblind, so I know that there are certain colors that I just physically cannot see. I know they exist, I know that other people see them, I physically just cannot see those colors. Similarly, I know that there are emotions that people are feeling for other people. I do not have access to those, just sort of the way my brain is wired, whatever you want to call it. My orientation is that I
can't fall in love.
I do not experience romantic attraction. I know that's kind of weird for some people to hear and hard for people to understand, but that's why we're doing this questionnaire. So, let's see. I did do another video about aromanticism that you can check out. I'm not probably going to put a button to it because I don't know how to do this YouTube thing. Pretty new here. But if you check my channel, you can find the other video. So that goes into more, longer description of what the actual term means and stuff like that. This is just purely a Q&A. I'm going to try and rip through it kind of quick. Let's see. Do you see asexuality as a disorder? Well, no. I mean, I don't really know anything about asexuality that much. I know, peripheral knowledge. But similarly to aromanticism, I wouldn't call it a disorder because I feel like disorder implies that there's a problem. And I don't think there's a problem with being aromantic, just like I don't think there's a problem with being asexual. It's just how you are. It's an orientation. Same as, being gay, being straight, being pan, whatever your attraction is, that's just how you were born. That's your orientation. I would not call it a disorder. There's no problem. So, no. Let's see. What do your crushes look like? This is an interesting question. I think my crushes probably look the same as other people. A crush isn't really based on romantic attraction. A crush is almost more so like in your own head. It's like your imagination of what a person could be. It's the potential, it's the excitement of the potential. It's what you are almost like forcing upon this person, because a crush typically is like you don't know that much about that person yet. So it's like the excitement about getting to know new information, the mixture of energy for the first time, physical attraction and curiosity. So it's a mixture of all those things. So, I certainly still have crushes on people. Some people call them squishes in the aromantic community. By all means, if that's for you, go for it. For me, I'll just stick with crush. I will say that crushes can get me in trouble though, because I understand that if I'm crushed on someone, I might be really interested and be wanting to text them often and stuff, but I'm not typically a frequent texter. My best friend in the world, I talk to him once every 2 weeks, maybe more. So I can be texting someone a lot up front during the crush time, but then as they transition, if they're romantic type person, they'll transition from crush to romantic attraction and expectations, whereas mine falls the fuck off to friendship, and then I text a normal friend when there's something to actually discuss. Once we've kind of run out of what about this, what about that, who are you, what are you as a person, let's have sex, here's a nude. It's when it's just hey, how's your day, that stuff can kind of drag for me a bit, and so I have to be careful with how I interact with a crush, because I can set dangerous precedences or sometimes even express sentiments or emotions or invoke sentiments or emotions that I did not intend. So my experience is not always the same as my potential partner or crush is experiencing, which can cause friction and problems. So gotta be careful with crushes. I'll get to more on that dissonance of experiences later. How do you deal with attachment in aromantic relationships and others' attachment? That can definitely be tricky because, I don't know, as I said before, different people can experience the same experience differently. So, for me, being aromantic kind of seems like your brain is a computer, they say, right? And it sorts information as such. So for me, it's my brain just doesn't have that romantic folder. So any information that gets saved in, romantic people's folder and that gets recalled as that and triggers those kind of emotions, it's not theirs. But I still experience all the same experiences all that information just gets sorted into different folders. So like, you know, holding hands is like pretty much exclusively like a sex act for me. Like it's not sexual per se, but it's something that done outside of a sexual context feels very foreign and uncomfortable for me. But after I've had sex with somebody or like leading up to sex, it's intimate and it's leading to sex or coming off of sex to where like, so, you know, we're both experiencing the experience of holding hands after sex, right? In my mind, I think it's more so like, man, we just had sex, it was bomb, like I still want to be touching her, I want to make sure that she knows that like I'm feeling this intimacy, and it's still kind of a sexual thing, or like, you know, I know that she like wants to feel that kind of like closeness and I'm doing that to assure her that I'm still here with her. In her mind, she may be thinking, oh my gosh, like we're holding hands, look at our fingers interlocked, like this is such a romantic moment, I'm like falling for this person. Now we're both in the same moment doing the same thing, but what we're experiencing in that experience, what we're taking away from that experience might be two different things, which can cause conflict. So a person that isn't in control of their feelings, their romantic feelings, may be falling for me at certain points or getting attached, and I might not be knowing that it's happening, or when I do know it's happening, I might have to like put some distance. So I have to be actually like hyper aware of the type of actions that I'm doing and how they may be perceived as more than what I'm intending, because again, it can cause friction and miscommunications and, you know, hurt people in the long run. So it can be really frustrating and difficult. So how do you balance being aromantic but not sexual? Any awkward situations? How do I balance it? For me, it's easy because I just don't feel the romance. So like, it's just the sexual and then like platonic. There's nothing that kind of ties the two like that. It does get awkward for when, you know, dealing with partners that have a harder time separating the two, the romantic from the sexual. And it's not typically their fault, you know. A lot of people, their romantic attraction is directly tied to their sexual attraction. Some people are even demisexual, which means they physically can't even be sexually attracted to somebody until they are like romantically or emotionally involved with somebody. Obviously, I would not be compatible with that type of person. And that's really what it comes down to, is understanding compatibility. So I can be physically, you know, compatible with another partner and we might really want to hook up, but if we determine that like what they're looking for or what they need from a partner is someone that is romantically available in that capacity and like looking to build something more stronger romantic love wise, obviously I'm not going to be able to fulfill that need of theirs. So it's just important that we get to the root of that as soon as possible before jumping into bed preferably, so that we can avoid any sort of conflict where we might just decide, hey, maybe we should not hook up because
you can't fall in love.
You know, there will be some miscommunication or misleading or just hurt feelings, and I do my best to be as upfront as possible so that there's, you know, no one feeling misled or anybody getting hurt. So, yeah, it can definitely lead to awkward situations though. You know, I've had partners that thought that they could separate them and then they ended up not being able to. I've had a partner say, hey, I can't hang out with you anymore because you'll never love me. And I'm like, ugh, facts though. Like, you know, obviously I didn't say that, but it's like, you know, I understand why you need to make that, you know, have that distance, because you got to do what's right for yourself and, you know, protect your heart and your feelings. But, you know, that can also really suck for me because now I've lost a friend and it almost makes me feel as though I'm insufficient. You know, what the love that I do have to offer, the, you know, platonic and friendly love is insufficient to sustain this friendship. And I know that's not exactly what it is, but that's a lot what it feels like on my end sometimes. In other instances when partners have just been a little, I don't want to say immature, but inexperienced in dealing with or dating somebody like me, you know, they can feel, I've had a partner kind of lash out at me, multiple partners lash out at me in certain ways, you know, saying that I'm like a vampire, like I feed off of women's attention or energy and stuff, which is never the case. Or even a partner that said, you know, even being as upfront as I am about certain things, that no partner, no girl would ever actually be able to date me like on my terms, like equally. Every girl who accepted what I had, like what I was offering, would always only be doing it in hopes that they would change me or that I would fall in love with them. And since that would never happen, I would always be hurting somebody, so that I should actually just never date anybody. That was her recommendation. And again, I know that comes from a place of like confusion and hurt on her part, but that still sucks. And there's a lot of times when like I'm dealing with disappointment and even like, you know, disrespect in that sense, where I still end up like putting their feelings first just because that's the kind of guy I am. And you know, even though I'm hurting, I want to make sure that they're okay and not feeling, or, you know, neutralizing as much of the pain as possible. because I know that dating is a little unusual, I guess, for some people. So, yeah, definitely awkward situations sometimes, but very easy for me to balance. More difficult for partners to balance, but not for everybody. Some people can, and those people are great. Does romance movies or dating culture feel foreign or alien? Like seeing a feeling you can't attain? 100%. Like I can't even express to you. Like literally, romance. I was gonna say romance culture, but really the culture, like everywhere. Romance is permeated throughout every facet of life. Whether you're watching a fucking kids cartoon, whether you're watching adults, teenagers, whether you're reading a book, fucking more than half the commercials on TV are about like falling in love or having a partner or being with your wife, whatever. Like it's just we are inundated, fucking. I was gonna say daily, like every 30 minutes, with romance and romance goals and whatnot. So as someone that doesn't experience that, it's very outside looking in. It's very like you kind of. I don't know. You're just very aware of how frequently it occurs, and it can, definitely be like sometimes a bit of like you can make me disinterested in media if it's like too much, or yeah, it's just everywhere, and even just like talking to friends, and like I have a very objective look at relationship. Like, why are you still with this person? Look at all the stuff they did. Like, if I was explaining these things to you on like a list of like pros and cons, it's like all cons. Like, yeah, but I love him. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But, I guess it does to them because they are feeling something that I don't know. So I can't, I guess, fully give a good opinion on those matters. But I feel like it's a unique and worthwhile perspective to have someone on the outside looking in to give you like a better, or at least an alternative view of the circumstances. Like, have you ever talked to an asexual person about sex? So funny, because like sex is fucking gross. Like, no matter how you slice it, sex is gross as fuck. But like because you're like attracted to them and everything, and like it feels good, and you're like in the throes of it and everything, like you just do it. Like it just, you know what I mean? Like you eat an ass out here. You know what I'm saying? Like in any other context, you'd be like, I'm sorry. Come again? Like literally, but like yeah. So if you're not sexual, it's fucking weird. But when you're sexual, that's just the shit you do. So similarly, it's like when you're not romantic, it's like, what are y'all doing? Like I don't understand, but. Yeah, it's a trip, man, for sure. Very, very alien at times. How do you accept that you're aromantic? She just found out that she is. Yeah, I mean, for me, it just made sense. Like, I tried dating a lot when I was younger, and I just started dating less and less as I got older because it just wasn't working out. So, I don't know, to me, like, I just assumed, like, yeah, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, I don't really have the desire for those feelings. Like, I guess I don't have the longing for those feelings. Desire, I might, like, when I was younger, I thought I would have a wife and whatnot, and it sounds like it'd be cool. Like, if I could choose to do it, I might choose to do it. Though I do think I got the better deal, like being aromantic, so I'm not mad at my situation. But I just assumed, I guess, that I wouldn't have a partner long term, and it was just okay for me. I have had, like, I know friends that have had a harder time dealing with it, especially for women, because, like, just societally speaking, there's a lot more pressure on women to have a partner by a certain age, and like growing old alone as a woman, I think, has different connotations as growing old as a man does. And then just like inwardly as well, like I have friends who like are like one woman friend who is aromantic, and like she really does want a partner, but she's so aromantic, like she's what we call romantic repulse, which a lot of us are. Romantic repulse is when you are literally repulsed by romantic attraction or romantic intimacy, so much so that like she, when sharing a bed with a partner for a duration of time, broke out in hives. Like physically, like mentally, she was so unnerved by the proximity and intimacy that it physically manifested at hives or a rash on her body. Like that's how serious this shit can be. Like it just is how it is, And so for me, it was just easy to accept. I just assumed that was going to be it anyway. But I can understand how it can be difficult for some people. But you have to look at the pros as well, though. Like that you have more time, energy, and resources to focus on yourself because you're not constantly out here dating and wasting time trying to find this like magical person that you're going to build your life with. I feel like a lot of other people kind of stall their lives a lot in like bad relationships or meaningless relationships or like in just like the pursuit of this like other person that they're going to build their life with. So they kind of like stalled and they don't start figuring out their own shit until like their late 20s or 30s. Whereas I feel like I was already on that process or like late teens because I just already knew that shit wasn't going to be for me. So there's pros and cons to both sides, and I don't know, man. I think Aromantic has a lot of pros, so I'm not mad at it. It was pretty easy to accept for me. Do you see? Can you describe what platonic love and intimacy looks like for you? I think the same as everybody else. You know, platonic is just like, you know, I care about you. You know, if there's something you need from me, like let me know. I will gladly like get it for you, give it to you if I have it. You know, I want to see you succeed. I want to make sure that you know that I care about you and your well-being. But it's like, I guess, when you're, at least in my perspective, romantic love is typically more like singular. Like there's something about that one person you've decided to be with that is different than everybody else. And for me, it's not like that. Like, I have my friends that I love. If I meet a new person, they are added to my friends that I love. Or like, you know, like someone comes in and like their family, or like a child is born, whatever, like their family, like I love them. Like it just, there's no like caps or differentiating like title or whatever it is that makes romantic love different. It's difficult for me to discuss it because I don't experience it, but yeah, it's just, there's no like, you know, you would never be like, I have enough friends, I cannot love any more friends. Like, you might like decide that, but it doesn't mean physically you can't, you're unable to. Whereas people that fall in love with somebody seem to have like, this is my partner, I will not feel this type of love with anybody else but this person. I have no idea what that would be like. So for me, it's just, you know, just love that is for everybody, you know, and it's just, I care about them and want to make sure they're good, but it's not singular to them, I guess. What would your advice be for mainstream media attempt decent aro representation? That's a cool question. There was a brief mention of Aromanticism or Aromantics on BoJack Horseman. Todd, I think, came out as asexual, and some of his like circle of friends came out as aromantic. That was really cool. I mean, it was just a brief mention, but I think just more mentioning it in general so that people can like acknowledge that it's like something that exists and that people are like this. I think that just having more media that focuses on like actual just like platonic love and familial love, and then that's enough. Like someone is like, you have to kind of, I think, purposely mention that like they're okay not being in a relationship, you know what I mean? Like that's really what's important. It's like so much focus is on emphasizing the importance of romance and romantic attraction, and oh, like you gotta run after that girl, you gotta be with that guy, or you need a wife, you need a husband, blah blah blah. Like it's like just having someone that like kind of like bucks that, and it's not that like spiteful, like I don't need a man type energy either, because that's like an immediate response to its existence. It's literally like the lack of it. It's like, yeah, man, like that's not a focus of mine. I don't really need that. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I had it. It's honestly mildly off-putting to consider myself like in that scenario. I'm just my own person as I am. I have my friends and family, and that in my passion for a life, whatever that may be, and that fulfills me as a person. So I think just focusing on that kind of character, it would be really helpful. I think sex education briefly touched on asexuality in season 2. I would love to see them delve more into aromanticism in season 3. That'd be sick. But yeah, it's definitely doable. Let's see. What situations allowed you to discover your lack of capacity for romanticism? I mean, just dating, you know? Like, I dated a lot in my later teen years, and honestly, by the time I was in my 20s, I was pretty sure that my experience was not what everybody else was experiencing. Like, you think you're, like, in love or you're whatever when you're a teenager, but, like, it's all bullshit for the most part, you know? And then, as I got older, and, like, people's relationships were lasting longer, and then they were really dealing with like actual heartbreak, and they were like feeling like fucking destroyed, decimated by a breakup or whatever. I was like, oh, you like feel that for real. Like I thought everybody was like collectively just exaggerating their like expressions of love and heartbreak, but like some of y'all are really feeling these like fucking pangs of love and heartbreak. And I'm like, oh, look, if that's really for real what you're feeling, like I am definitely not feeling any of that. Like I have no capacity for what you're talking about then, other than like third-hand experience. So yeah, I think just dating and trying to pursue relationships and realizing that it was not happening for me the way it was happening for other people is what allowed me to really understand that I
Can't fall in love.
I wasn't experiencing it, you know? Let's see. How do you define romantic feelings, actions, and what are examples for you? That's what's tough, man. It's like I oftentimes talk about asexuality when I'm trying to define aromanticism for people, because aromanticism, like, or what is and isn't romantic, is very ambiguous. It's very subjective. It can change moment to moment, person to person. Like, it's so ambiguous. Sexuality and what's sexual and non-sexual is a bit more objective. Not entirely, obviously. There are some things that blur the line, but it's a bit more objective, and people can conceptualize like what is and what isn't sexual compared to what is and what isn't romantic. A little easier. So when I explain to people, like, some people are asexual, they have no sexual desire or intimacy, they're like, oh, they don't like to do sex stuff. Pretty relatively easy for them to understand, at least, vague understanding of asexuality. And then I flip it back to aromanticism and be like, okay, so it's like that, but with romanticism. So, but again, it's really ambiguous. It's like, there's no list, there's no checklist of certain things that I can and can't do, or people can and can't do to me or for me that will trigger me into feeling this like romantic repulsion. It just is, it's just like, it's an ambiguous feeling, the same way that, like, how do you know when you're falling in love with someone? You don't really know, all of a sudden you just feel those feelings. But instead of like me feeling those feelings and it getting better, when I start feeling those feelings that someone is like kind of impressing upon me, I start like cringing and repelling away, it's like, I no longer, something inside me needs to be away from that person. It's very strange. And it's odd that it's not like a conscious thought either. I'll get into that a little bit after. Actually, there's another question here. Do you get uncomfortable if someone expresses romantic feelings towards you? So this is kind of what we're talking about. I do get uncomfortable when people express romantic feelings towards me, but it's not like a conscious thought. Like, it's like, if someone's like, yo man, you want some candy corn? I'm like, fuck you and fuck that candy corn. Are you fucking kidding me? Get the fuck out of here. Why would you even offer me such trash candy? We're not even friends anymore. Like, that's like an immediate conscious reaction I've had, right? Even though like it comes from like I've tasted it, I dislike it, I know it inside, but like, deep in my soul, candy corn is trash. But also consciously, I do not like candy corn, so get it the fuck out of here. It's almost more like lactose intolerant. You motherfuckers are lactose intolerant, but you still here eating pizza and ice cream. Like, consciously you still want that shit, but your body's like, nah. Like, it's not gonna work out. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that. Like, I'll be in a relationship. Like, I had a partner, my last girlfriend, she told me she loved me, and obviously that felt good. Like, it's nice to be loved. It's nice to have somebody like say that to you. She didn't even ask me to say it back. She, because she knew how I was kind of. I didn't know I was romantic at the time, but just kind of weird with relationships in general. And initially up here, my brain, I was like, that's nice, but like inside my body, like subconsciously, over the next like week or so, I just felt like me pulling away. I just could not reciprocate those feelings, and the fact that she had like brought them so strongly really caused me to like recoil from her drastically, and we ended up breaking up like shortly after, and it sucked because I still care about her. She's still a friend. Like, we're still friends to this day. Like, she's dope, and I wanted to be able to reiterate and like share that connection with her, and like give her what she deserves as a person looking for that love, and I just couldn't. I didn't have it. So yes, it is uncomfortable, unfortunately, to have someone press romantic feelings upon me. Do I still label relationships, like if I have a long-term sexual partner? I don't really. Like, I mean, I am non-monogamous. Small misconception. Some people think if you're aromantic, since you're not in love with people, that you want to have multiple partners and sleep around a lot. Not true. Some aromantic people still want to have like a set partner. They just can't fall in love with them. They don't want to build a life together. They just want one steady sexual partner that they can be friends with or whatever. That's not me. I'm non-monogamous. It never made sense to limit myself to one person when I'm still attracted to other people. Like, I don't know, I never got that. For me anyway. Yeah, so I've had partners that I've slept with for long periods of time, while still seeing other people. So, I didn't find a need to put any sort of label on or anything, but if a partner I was with wanted to put a label on it, depending on the circumstances, I would be okay with it, but it would probably be like non-monogamous, open relationship, like open casual relationship, like if it made them feel better to have the label, sure, but as long as they understood the terms and my capabilities and the conditions, I guess, of the relationship. What's the most common rebuttal you hear for being aromantic? Great question. It's almost always like, you just haven't found the right person. Which, like, yes, that 100% could be true. You can't prove what isn't there, you know what I mean? So I can't prove that I don't feel these feelings. So by all means, I could meet someone tomorrow and it could happen. But in my 33 years of experience, I've never felt anything even move the needle like a little bit. Like, to me, like, it'd be like seeing the world in black and white, and then all of a sudden, like, a fucking person in color walks by. Like, I think I would know it immediately if it was even kind of happening, and it isn't. It's not like I'm like not putting myself out there. I date casually, like, you know, I still have sex, like I see people regularly. If it could happen, I feel like it would have happened, at least in some capacity, but it just hasn't. So that's typically like the number one rebuttal. People just think like, oh, it's not real, everybody can experience love, but like, we're all different, you know? So it's just, you know, some people fall in love at the drop of a hat, man, like they really feel that shit deeply. We're just at the other end of the spectrum, you know what I mean? It's not that hard to comprehend. It's just, we're so inundated into thinking that everybody experiences it this way that it's so hard for people to really get out of that box and understand that we're not all the same. Do you find you have a heightened love in other areas of your life, like hobbies or passions? Well, like the senses, like if I was blind, my hearing would be better, so this love is better? Nah, no, I mean, I think if anything, it sometimes can feel like my love is capped. Like it seems like you guys can reach these like higher tier love that like I just don't have access to. Because like the stuff you guys do when you're in love is insane, as previously mentioned. So for me, like what I do experience is the most I can though. So like, you know, I love my family, love my friends, love my passions. So like it's all kind of like, I wouldn't say I necessarily love one of those more than the other. It's just like I love all of that stuff. In that that fulfills me. I feel fulfilled. I don't feel this void for that other kind of love. To be honest, I never even think about romantic love unless I'm explicitly discussing it. Otherwise, I don't have that like longing or like emptiness for it that other people seem to be having. So, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it. Thanks so much for watching. I don't know how long this is. I might try to edit it depending on how long it is, or I might not because I'm lazy and I don't really know how to edit video like that. We'll see. But I really love discussing aromanticism. I think that there are way more people out there that are aromantic, that are unaware, or even gray romantic, which is like being mostly aromantic, but there's like one or two every like, you know, a lifetime that might change it. I could be a gray romantic, who knows. But yeah, there's just, the big thing is like, I think people need to learn to understand themselves better. I think you need to check in with yourself and figure out your wants, your needs, your capabilities, and even your restrictions to better communicate that information to potential partners. Because, you know, sure, if you are, you know, asexual, romantic, straight, your dating pool is massive. So you can kind of like date at will, whatever. When you're like gay, you know what I mean, your dating pool is less. And, you know, if you're asexual but, you know, still romantic, your dating pool might even be less still. So it's like more difficult to find potential partners, but they're still out there. Like if you're desirous to find a partner, I guarantee there's someone out there, because human beings are fucking weird, strange, peculiar species of things, of beings that are, you know, no two are alike. So there's always a combination of characteristics that you can find a potential partner in or with. But, you know, you just sometimes have to try a little harder to find those people. So don't give up. You know, if you're feeling alone or you'll never find someone that wants the same things you want, they're out there. It just takes a little more energy to find them sometimes. And it's just important to really understand what you're looking for and what you have to offer so that you can openly communicate that to a potential partner so y'all are on the same page. Because there's no reason that, you know, someone else should be getting hurt for you trying to get what you want. That's the big problem with a lot of guys right now here, you know, trying to hook up with girls and misleading them because they're not offering what the girl's actually looking for. They're just lying about it and misleading them. The key is that all parties should be able to get what they're looking for, or come to some kind of, you know, understanding on where you guys can meet in the middle on it. Certain things are a little bit more pliable, and you know, you can come to a compromise. Some things are solid, and you know, there is no compromise for it. So. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I really love talking about this topic. Thank you so much for watching. You know, if you have any more questions, by all means, drop them in the comments. If you have any corrections or anything like that, if I misspoke about anything on the topic, by all means, let me know. Find me at Nick Hampshire on Instagram, at Nick Hampshire, Twitter, at Nick Hampshire on YouTube, at Nick Hampshire 1 on Facebook, because some dickhead, but yeah, whatever. That's pretty much it. I love talking about the subject, so by all means, let me know how you guys are feeling. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, guys.